All right, so the other day I bought some packs and I packed this guy right here. Pretty good card. I was looking over him. He has some pretty good abilities. I did a little research on him, and he's seeing a lot of play in modern as well as standard. And with good reason too. I mean, like I said, he's got that real good, just really awesome ability. It's good card drawing and good board control all at the same time. So I thought I would try to build a deck around him. Now, I know he's a legendary creature, so that means only one of him can be in play at any one time, which, kind of puts a damper on how many copies of him you should have in your deck. So that being said, I went ahead and made a deck with 2 copies of him. In addition to that, I was kind of looking at red and blue to see, at least in standard, see what cards would get the most use out of having him in the deck. And as of right now, I didn't really see too much going on for him in a standard, at least with what I have right now. So I went ahead and I made a modern deck using this guy, and right now I'm going to go ahead and break that deck down, and well, here we go. Alright, so excuse me. So the first creature we're going to talk about here is the Cloudfin Raptor. This little guy here, he's from the Return to Ravnica block. 0/1 flying and evolve, a good 1-drop. Taking a page out of the Blue Devotion deck, you drop him down, more creatures come out, and as they do, he gets stronger. So, and considering this deck has a total of 17 creatures, I think he's a pretty solid 1-drop for this deck, and he also helps begin to early count towards Keranos' Devotion count. After that, we have Omenspeaker. Let's see, a 1/3 for 2 from the Theros block. When he comes into play, scry 2. He's a decent 2-drop, has a decent defense. The scry ability comes in very handy also. And not to mention, the Omenspeaker will help with the 1-drop, the Cloudfin, get the evolve going. The next creature card we have is the Frostburn Weird, a 1/4 for 2 with a decent ability there. You pay a red or a blue and he gets +1/-1. His high defense also helps with the Raptor's evolve ability, and he also provides good early defense. And if you look at that casting cost there, that definitely helps count towards Keranos' Devotion count. And with that defense of 4, he can bypass virtually any direct damage. After that, we have the Nivix Cyclops, another 1/4 for 3 defender. When you cast an instant or a sorcery spell, he gets +3/+0, and he can attack as though he didn't have defender. Once again, with the high defense, he helps with the Cloudfin. He helps the Cloudfin Raptor's evolve ability. And since this deck has a decent amount of instants and sorceries, this Cyclops here, he's going to take full advantage of that. And, he can become quite formidable by the first turn he can attack, which would be turn 4. Let's see. After that, we have the Spellheart Chimera. Flying Trample for 3. His power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. The way this deck works, in theory, is you can take control of the board early with the instants and sorceries I put in here. In addition to that, you have your creatures coming out with high defense. They kind of help protect you while you get yourself situated. That being said, you're going to be burning through instants and sorceries, so by the time you drop this guy, he should be a decent, 3/3, 4/3, around there. And then finally, we have what I mentioned earlier, Keranos. 6/5 for 5, indestructible. By the time you get him out, there's a between the creatures and other permanents in this deck, you know, there's a good chance that by the time you bring him out, he will be a full creature by that point. But even so, even if he's not a creature, look at that awesome ability. Reveal the first card you draw on each of your turns. Whenever you reveal a land card, you draw a card. Whenever you reveal a non-land card, he deals 3 damage to target creature or player. This ability is just, I really enjoyed this ability. I got him out, and you know, I played against a friend of mine. It was just a casual play. Went up against a mono black deck, and he had some pretty nasty creatures out. Some going so far as Desecration Demon, and I was actually able to take care of it rather easily with Keranos in combination with other burn and removal spells. So that was pretty good. Now, to help with Keranos' to help with his devotion count, I went ahead and threw in a couple of non-creature permanents. In this case, enchantments here. First enchantment, well, actually the only enchantment here is Halcyon Glaze. Whenever you play a creature spell, this enchantment becomes a 4/4 illusion with flying. Since there are a lot of creatures in here, you get this guy out, you start playing creatures, he becomes a 4/4 that you can attack with. Now, if I had some Hammers of Perforus, I would probably use those instead. But since I don't right now, I went ahead and opted to use this Halcyon Glaze. So it's like I said, it's decent. I mean, you can't really use them as a blocker, unfortunately, since I have no creatures in this deck that have flash, that pretty much seals the deal on that. But that being said, I thought the casting cost and the ability was decent. I may swap this out for the Bident of Thassa. It's a little more expensive, but it has just as good an ability in terms of maybe drawing cards and forcing your opponent's creatures to attack, but never mind. Right now, we went ahead and just kept a Halcyon Glaze in here, and that's it for the enchantments. Okay, so here's where we get to the more controlling aspect of this deck here. We're going to start off with this card here, Electrolyze. Deals 2 damage divided any way you choose among target creatures and or players. Pretty decent. I know there's other cards out there that deal more damage for less mana. What I like about this card is its flexibility in terms of being able to divide the damage, playing it at instant speed, and also the ability to draw a card, which I thought was pretty nifty. In addition to that, we have the Izzet Charm. My favorite charm, probably one of my favorite charms from the Return to Ravnica block. Gives you a early counter control, you know, counter non-creature spell, unless they pay 2, or you can deal 2 damage to target creature. Or if you get this late in the game and you need to draw into something good, you can use this last ability there to draw 2 cards and then discard 2. Since this deck really isn't since the mana curve on this deck is relatively, I guess, low would be the word, meaning that there's not that many expensive cards in this deck. You know, after about the 6th or 7th land, you don't really need any more. So if you start drawing to lands, you could use this card to just cycle through them and get to the better stuff. In addition to that, we also have Manamorphose. This card is essentially like the Burning Tree Emissary, where you pay the mana and, you know, it puts mana back into your pool. Basically a free spell. And this works really well with the Nivix Cyclops. I mean, you pay the 2. Like I said, you basically pay 0 to draw a card, if you want to think about it that way. You cast it, you know, you put the mana in your pool, you draw a card. You could draw into many of the other 2-drops in this deck. This deck will really, this card rather, will really ramp up your Chimera and the Cyclops. In addition to that, I have Mizzium Skin. target creature you control gets +0/+1 and hexproof. You know, I like this card because of its well, first of all, its casting cost. It's real cheap. The overload ability is pretty nice also, because you are going to need to protect your creatures, you know, to keep that devotion counter high, so that Keranos can actually go out there and, you know, just start tearing it up. So let's see here. You're going to want to protect those creatures, and this card is a good way to do that. And last of the instance, we have Think Twice. Pretty self-explanatory. You know, for instant speed, you pay 2, draw a card, and after that you can flash back and draw another card. So yeah, these cards, like I said, they help you maintain early control of the board while you draw into your good stuff and get it out, and you know, just take it from there. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and tell you about the sorceries in this deck. One of them here is Anger of the Gods. It is from the Theros block. Costs 1 colorless, 2 red. Anger of the Gods deals 3 damage to each creature. If a creature dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. I only have about maybe 2 copies of this in this deck. Being that, well, for one thing, there's, you know, it really just depends on what your opponent is playing as to the effectiveness of this card. You're more than welcome to sideboard in, you know, more copies of this card. However, I felt that, you know, just having 2 copies of this in the deck would more or less serve its purpose well. In addition to that, it could also take out your own creatures, but since many of these creatures in here have a defense of 4 or greater, they should be able to withstand this card. So that would be Anger of the Gods right there. The next sorcery we have in here is Flames of the Firebrand. Costs 3 also, 2 colorless, 1 red. Deals 3 damage divided any way you choose among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures and or players. So once again, this card is rather flexible in how it assigns damage. You pay 3, you can deal 3 damage pretty much anywhere you need to deal it. So once again, yes, there are other cards out there that deal more damage for less mana. However, I think for trying to control the board, you want the flexibility that this card offers. And that is Flames of the Firebrand. Okay, so the mana sources we have for this deck are relatively clean and simple. We went ahead and put in 10 islands. We have 2 Mana Confluences. Yeah, this card's pretty decent. There are those that would say, you know, only play a limited amount of these cards in your deck because after a while they could eventually hurt you more than help you. I know with the con set coming out and all the different wedge cards out there, this card's gonna, I think, see at the very least decent play. Because I know there's other land cards out there that will help cover those crazy mana costs. You know, you have the Scry lands. Personally, I haven't been a big fan of the Scry lands. I mean, I see their usefulness and I see people use them rather effectively. You know, I just think that you know, a land that comes into play tapped, that's, I mean, in terms of just speed and efficiency, that's one land drop that could have been used towards something on that turn. But like I said, that's just me. That's just how, you know, and it doesn't mean that I don't use them myself, because I do have a few of those that I run. So, but I guess it just depends on the kind of deck you're building. So yeah. We also have 9 mountains, and I also have 3 Temples of Epiphany. Like I said about the Scry lands, I mean, I see their usefulness. I'm still learning how to make them work for me. In this case here, I think you know, these you know, just a couple or a few of these cards they actually do pretty well. This deck thankfully has, I think, some decent card drawing and some scrying, so getting yourself set up is not too big of a problem. Let's see. So yeah, that's pretty much my Keranos deck, my modern Keranos deck. You know, if you have any other suggestions for what can go into this deck, I'd love to hear it. So yeah, so this is basically my red and blue Keranos modern deck. Well, that concludes today's show. Thank you guys very much for listening. I hope you get to try this deck out. May it bring you many victories. On our next episode, I'm going to be discussing a modern format black-white control deck I've been working on for a while now. And in future episodes, we will be covering topics such as a black discard control deck playable in standard. We're going to see if we can finally get some green going on in our little series here. And maybe even start talking about the latest set, Cons of Tarkir. We're also going to update the white life gain deck we've talked about in the previous show. So once again, guys, thank you all very much. I hope you all are enjoying this series. If you have any ideas for future shows, if you have anything you'd like to say, maybe a specific card you'd like a deck to be built around, just let us know. Leave a comment. Please subscribe. And until next time, thanks again.